Hello and welcome for all of you in Hanoi, Zoom webinar, wherever you are, and at the SEAPAVAA Facebook Live. Today, we will have the SEAPAVAA Conference Symposium Session 3 with the title, Adaptability of Archives in Times of Challenges and Opportunities. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's part 1. My name is Lisabona Rahman. I am a freelance consultant for film preservation and programming, and I will be your moderator for this session. With us today, we have 3 speakers. So let me introduce you to all 3 of them one by one, and then we'll have one presentation after the other. So let me introduce you to Anne. Anne, if I'm not mistaken, in pronouncing your name, Anne Couteux. And next to Anne is Eleonore Alquier. Thank you. And then our third speaker is Sanchai Chotirosseranee from Thailand, Film Archive of Thailand. Yes, you all might know him as the Secretary General of SEAPAVAA as well. Okay, and today in this session, we will start with Anne and Eleonore's presentation. But before that, I have to inform you that their presentation will not be live streamed on Facebook Live. It is only available on the Zoom webinar, but I was also informed that the organizers will manage some screenshots so that you'd still get the information from this presentation on Facebook Live. Okay, so we will have about 20 minutes time for presentation. Let me read a little bit about who Anne and Eleonore are. So Anne works at INA, that's the French Audiovisual Institute, and she's working in the collections department. She's responsible for the unit that monitors the data modeling for audiovisual archive content. This unit also manages vocabularies, including the thesaurus, used to describe, index, retrieve the INA's multimedia archives. She's currently participating in the implementation of new information system for the management of INA's collection. This sounds like a huge task, but we will hear more about it later. Eleonore is Deputy Head of Collections in charge of acquisition and preservation at the French Audiovisual Institute, or INA. She's responsible for the refoundation of the collections management IT system and for the collection acquisition strategy, coordinating transversal projects connected to audiovisual description and preservation. So without further ado, please welcome Anne and Eleonore from INA, France. Let's turn on your microphone and the floor is yours. Thank you so very much, Eleonore and Anne. We will get back with some questions to your presentation later. I have lots of notes here, curiosity, like, just how much of the work is done like automated, manual language, and how you define instances, with works that are not TV programs, blah, blah, blah. So we'll go back to it later.
Yes,
but now, yes, I would like to welcome Sanchai from Thai Film Archive. And Sanchai will be talking about how the archive took care of the collection that was experiencing fire in 2019. Probably you all remember that we were quite shocked to get this news 2 years ago. Yes, so a little bit about Sanchai. I'm sure most of you have known him, but in case you don't, Sanchai is currently the Deputy Director of Film Archive Public Organization Thailand. He is in charge of supervising administration departments, preservation departments, and he's one of the programmers of Thai Short Film and Video Festival, as well as the Silent Film Festival in Thailand. That's probably the only silent film festival in Southeast Asia. Let's take note. He has served as a member of SEAPAVAA Executive Council since 2017. Sanchai, I'll give you the floor or the camera and the microphone. Please start your presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Anne and Eleonore, for very wonderful presentation. Okay. So, hi everybody. My name is Sanchai from the Thai Film Archive. Today, my presentation is called Portraits of an Archive on Fire, the case study of the film archive in Thailand. This presentation is based on a report prepared by my colleagues, whom you see in the photo. And actually, they are in back at me because Anne have Eleonore, so I call them up to back up for me. And they are real frontline workers and they are real film rescuers after the incident that happened in the film archive September 2019. What they did was immensely important to our preservation mission. And I would like to give them all credit. They have deserved for their work, for great work. And then they will, of course, they will be with me for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask. And I also want to thank my colleague Kong Liddi, who proofread my presentation script as well. My presentation will be about the Thai Film Archive responses to unexpected incident. I divide my talk into two parts. First, our handling of the film print that survived the fire and the method we use. And all of this is based on my colleague report. And the second part, I will briefly talk about the way we handle the publicity immediately following the incident. In the evening of Sunday, September 29, 2019, a fire broke out at one of our temporary offices. If you visit our office before in the past, you remember that there were several cargo containers that converted as the mobile offices and located at the back of our main compound and construction buildings. One of these mobile offices was used by our archivists to do the film inspection. There were several film cans in the room when the fire broke out around 6 p.m. Since it was Sunday evening, there was not many people on site, but fortunately, our staff and security guard spot the fire and contact the firefighter. The firefighters arrived 20 minutes later, and it took about 2 hours to put out the fire completely. On Monday, September 30th, the police came to collect evidence and inspect the scene. And after that, our staff were allowed to go inside. Although what was once an office was reduced to charred remains, with most objects burned and blackened, we actually found that most of film in that can survived the flames. Our staff quickly transferred all of them to the temporary preservation and restoration facility in the building. The damage to the film reels was caused by the fire as well as by water from the firefighting operation. But inspection also reveals that most of the film sustained no damage from the incident. Then we began our rescue mission. We started classifying the film into 3 groups. Each of them received a different kind of treatment. Firstly, for the film that came into contact with water, we dry them as soon as possible. Otherwise, the film might have suffered other decaying effects such as twist or bend. Being twist or bend, the watermark would appear on the splint. Those effects may cause the treatment more complicated. What we did with the 1,000 feet reels was unwinding the splints and placing them on the plate or tables. Once dry, we rewound them. Then we inspect the condition and repair any damages before sending them to be digitized. For the smaller reels, we unwound and blow dry them with cool air and place them on the tables. Unfortunately, some film has been in a state of decay even before the fire, and the water further deteriorated their condition. The film layer was peeled off, and it was impossible to put them back. A second group, for the film in the burnt can, the metal can were melted by the heat and got stuck in the film. So our accused needs to force the can open. Some section of the film inside were burned, and they got shrunk due to the heat. And before scanning them, the staff added the missing part with the blank stock, so the print could be scanned. So I would like to show you the clip of the film that got shrunk by the heat, but is still good condition to be scanned. Sorry, I will play again.
Researching to find ways and means to prevent further action of our country. Legend. The organization has their sacred mission of preserve freedom and integrity area.
So that the film that we scanned it, and you can see that the movement is from that the film that shrunk, but it's still good condition that we can scan it. And the last group that for the film in the cans that has no damage at all, we clean the cans and or change the cans and inspect the film to make sure that it really has no damage, and we send them to be digitized. In the film archive, we still use a paper card for identification, registration, and cataloging of the films in our collection, along with the database in the computers. So unfortunately, about 60% of the cards in that office was burned. In order to identify the print, we gave all the survived print temporary identification number. Then we check their scan files to match them with their real identification numbers. So we would know that what the film survived and was not. For every archive, a fire is a real nightmare. It is not only about the damage itself, but also about the credibility and social image of the institution that's supposed to be responsible for safeguarding the film heritage. Within an hour after the fire broke out in our premises, online news websites ran their stories, and they sensationalized what happened with headlines such as fired at film archive, invaluable prints destroyed, or something equally scary. Now I will like talk about our publicity after the incident. People read the news and imagine the worst. To respond to disproportionate reports on social media, we quickly released our first statement through our official social media channels, in which we clearly explained that the fire broke out at only at our temporary offices, which was located separately from the main building and the film vault. The damages were limited and under investigation. There was no injury at all. So the picture that you see is the first picture that we released officially through our social media channel. This first statement helped us stop the spread of exaggerated headlines and calm the public sentiment. It also showed that the film archive was the reliable and responsible organization that constantly communicate with the public. Then on Monday, September 30th, or the day after the fire, we released a second statement to the media with more details and photos to explain the location where the mobile office was. We also explained that though there were some well-known films in the office, we had previously made copies or digitized their contents. On the same day, a couple of new reporters visited the film archive to report about the fire. They interviewed our directors and we showed them the scene. So they realized that the office was not near the building or the film vault at all. And the damage was not as much as has been reported earlier. So this is the map and the picture that we put on our second statement and also send the official news release to the journalists. The day after that, 2 days after the incident, we released a third statement to update the situation. Now we focus on our rescue mission by our staff. We show the photo of our activists working with the film reels. The intention was to show our professionalism and our quick response to minimize the damages. We also wanted to shift the narrative from the damages and the fire to our preservation mission after the incident. Then the October 2nd, we released an English statement to inform our international friends and network. The goal was to clarify what happened and minimize our any misunderstanding from other archival institutions outside Thailand. And I assume that some of you may have received it. So these are the picture that we show the public with our third statement. And yeah, we try to make sure that the people know that we try to reduce damage as much as possible by the quickly respond to the incident. According to the police investigation, the fire was caused by the electrical short circuit. There was also some deterrent nitrate-based film in the office, which might have contributed to the severity of the fire. To us at the film archive, and I'm sure that all of you as well, the fire was a major wake-up call to remain vigilant and cautious, and to be fully prepared for any disaster and unexpected incident that might jeopardize our operation at any minute. So in the slide, you can see that we released our film vault photo, and also the headline that media keep us like, oh, film is safe, and the old film that still exists. So this is a story that we try to change the narrative, as I said earlier, from the fire to the film preservation mission instead. So thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Sanchai. It must have been a challenge. Yeah, I mean, not only to handle what is really going on site, but to also make your voice heard in the social media, because that's probably the way that news travels in our world today. You're on video.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my
Right. Okay, that's backstage. Yeah, good. So can I bring back Anne and Eleonore to show them on camera? Yes, perfect. Yes. Thank you. Hi. We have roughly 10 minutes to elaborate on your presentations. I will start with Anne and Eleonore's presentation because we have a question from Joshua. He's working at the Archives of New Zealand. His question is, for transcription, are they automatically generated? And if yes, what are you using to generate the transcriptions?
Yes, well, in this case here specifically, the transcription are made automatically, and we are using a standard and external solution, which is called Vocapia, excuse me, which was considered as really relevant in our case because we have chosen, well, we are not making a speech-to-text on the whole collection, but it's only on very recent broadcasts. So it means broadcast where you have the same language as the one we are speaking today, because we have noticed that, for example, on earlier collections from the 50s, the vocabulary is not the same, the way the people speak is not the same, and the mathematical solutions are not always relevant for these different ways of speaking. So for a very recent collection, a very recent part of the collection, this solution, Vocapia, was relevant. But we have another reflection for the speech-to-text applied to or dedicated to older collection. And for this more difficult collection, let's say, we are having and leading a reflection with our R&D teams. Because, for example, if we have videos where we hear old people or people with specific regional accents or with specific vocabularies, then we need a specific application or a specific solution. So it's 2 parts answer.
Yeah. So what would you say, like how much would be the portion of work that you can do relatively well with AI or automated, and how much are you still doing manually? Because I mean, it's a collection of like what, 20 million hours?
Yes. Today we are just at the beginning of the reflection on AI, and speech to text is the first step in the reflection, but we are working on other processes because we have seen that transcription by itself is not enough to replace a traditional documentary description. So till now, we are still having a traditional description, and we are managing, for example, projects on automatical segmentation of content. And we are also looking at the possibility that from the transcription, we could deduct a kind of indexation, but it wouldn't be exactly the same kind of indexation as the one we are making with human documentarists and documentalists. So it's still a work in progress. And today, we cannot consider that AI will replace the way we are describing the collection, but it will help to access for the part of the collection on which we don't have anyway a whole documentation today, because we don't have enough people to propose a systematical description. So it's not a replacement; it's more complementary from AI to traditional description.
Yes. Let me just invite the audience again. If you want to ask questions, you can type your questions on our Q&A box, or even those of you who are following us from Facebook, I think can type questions there, right, Sanchai and colleagues?
Yes.
Army.
My colleague opposite of me will collect the
yes.
question from Facebook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to ask another question actually to Anne and Eleonore before going to Sanchai. You said that you try to complement the manual work with automated and artificial intelligence work. What kind of materials did you start from? Like, did you have let's say a catalog, printed catalog before that you have to ingest to your new system? Or can you describe a little bit this whole migration?
Well, we have been working with databases for, let's say, 25 or maybe 30 years now. And the IT system that we are dealing with today are around 25 years old for one, and maybe 20 years old for the other one. So it's already a digital environment, and we already are dealing with tools that are completely digital. And it's also related to the fact that HINA is beginning the digitization of its audiovisual collections at the end of the 90s. The difficulty today is that we have too many tools and too many ways of description. So we have to make all the bases merge into a unique one. But it's not a change from paper to digital, but from different digital systems to a unique one.
And you mentioned also that your collection comes from different institutions. So like according to the culture of each institution, do you also have to synchronize the fields of description?
Exactly, because the purpose of our processes is to propose a unique access for our different users. So for example, the search tools have to be able to ask only one question and to have relevant answers, whatever the collection is asked. It means that when we get a new collection or when we get new contents and new programs, we make a mapping, for example, on the metadata that are coming with the collection itself, so that the collection it described is in the same model as the one we have chosen as main model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's good to know. Okay, next question.
If we had different models for each collections or for each titles, it would be very difficult for the users to make researches in the collection. So it's a very important aspect of our today work to guarantee the consistency of the description of the whole collection.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So let me just go to Sanchai for the moment. I see questions still coming up for you, both of you. Be patient. Sanchai, let's address your story. So we have here one question from Dave Dadubo. Mm-hmm. Aside from the obvious reason that the materials were burnt, is there a point that you decided that some materials are not worth saving anymore? Wow, this is like a $1 million question right there. Yeah, Sanchai?
I had time to consult with my team.
Okay, and then, so while you do that, let me read Ray Edmondson's question here. So that you can also think of it as you speak. What was the media reaction as they received your successive statement? Was it positive? Like, did the media hear you? Yes.
Okay, so about the first question, because it's like our policy from our founding director, Kudom Sukhawong, that we try to collect as much as possible. And, you know, we have the idea, like if the picture is not peeled off or there's still some picture, even it's really deteriorated, we still keep it. And we wait for the future technology that can be restore it back. So it's like a digital technology nowadays that we restore the film. It's some film that is really bad condition, but it still can go be, if they have some picture in the film, we can bring it back with the digital technologies. So that our concept. So I don't think that if the film in still have some picture, we will keep it. And yeah, of course, there are some case that the film like very deteriorate and no picture at all. Yeah, we may have to destroy it or give it away. Yeah, that's one response from us. And about the Lay Edmondson question, we are very lucky that we have very good connection and relationship with the media. So in the end, the media response is quite good, and also the public also give us the share. You know, when we decide to put the first statement on the social media, and people just come and give up the hope, you know, and share and support us. So that is very, very good response from the public. And so far, we never get complaint from the public about the fire yet, but that might be because we are quite quickly respond to the public as well. So the public be clarified after the incident, just 1 hour or 2 hours after the fire.
Thank you, Sanchai. Okay, let's go to the next questions for Anna and Eleonore. So one question is about the metadata that you collect from commercial institutions, because there must be and this question is from Louise Kerham, because she imagines that some commercial information might not be useful to an institution such as yours, which is more like a cultural archive. So the question is, do you take all the metadata that is offered by your partner institution? And the second question from an anonymous attendee is, prepare for this. What is the projected timeline to complete the data lake migration? If you please.
Well, for the example of the audience data, actually, it's not an information that we get from the broadcasters themselves, but we buy this information from a specific agency which is dedicated in France to the calculation of audience on television only. And it's a very relevant information, and that's why we buy it, because for the future researchers that will work on the collections, it is very interesting to know which program was seen by many people, which program didn't have any success at all. So it gives a real light on the context of the broadcast and on the influence that the program could have when it was broadcasted in relation with the audience that it has targeted or not. And from a general point of view, we don't take all the metadata. We make an instruction when a broadcaster, for example, is building a new workflow to send its content to us. We make an instruction of the metadata that are proposed. We try to get all the ones that can be interesting from an immediate use, and we also try to have a prospective reflection, because we know that, for example, the uses can evolve in the next years, and the digital uses are evolving as well. And we try not to restrict the way we can have access to the collections. So as long as it is compatible with the model, we try to get as many information as possible. And it's also important that the broadcasters can have access to all the information that they send to us in our platforms, in our online platforms, because it can also influence the way that they build their own requests, the way they ask questions in the platforms, in the online platforms, are related to the information that they know they had given to us. So we have to respect it as well.
Yeah, so let me confirm this. Once they give you information, like for example, a commercial broadcaster, do you keep it for them, or what you have is a mirror of what they have?
It depends. Both cases can exist. Sometimes they give us the collection and they don't keep anything on their side. And some other times they only give us a copy so that we can sell it, because we have a real expertise in selling, in audiovisual collection selling. But they also keep a whole collection on their side because it depends on their own strategy. There is no strict obligation on this field because it's a private contract that we are making with them. So it's related to the negotiations that we make with them, and it's also related to the size of the broadcaster, which have documentalist teams, no teams at all. It's very various in different contexts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eleonore. Sanchai, now last question to you.
There was a question on the schedule, on the calendar.
Yes.
Migration.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Sorry, we have begin building the model in 2015. The migration by itself has begun in 2016, at the end of 2016. And the documentary part of the migration should be finished at the end of the year. So it means 5 years of migration. And the items part, which has begun later, should be finished in 2022, I think. It's a very long project.
But so far, everything is as you expected, or do you find that you have to be quite lenient with the planned timeline, or actually it was more like no fuss?
When we dig into the migration by itself, we got very aware that the model that we had built was relevant in its main aspects, but that there was many questions that we hadn't asked yet, and that's why it took much longer than what we had thought. But the complexity and the diversity of the questions, it was what we discovered when we really began the migration by itself. So it took us longer than we thought, but we are still very close to the model that we had imagined 6 years ago. So it is still consistent.
Congratulations. Yes, so let me go over to Sanchai. Now we have questions piling up for Sanchai. First, it's a question from Luyen Tui. Whether or not you have updated your disaster recovery management plan after the fire, Sanchai. And then let me just read out 2 other questions so that you can wrap it up all together.
Yes.
How did you sort the recovered materials and how you recatalog them? Like maybe what kind of information you updated on your catalog? And the last one was, any of the artifacts belong to a donor? Like, you keep it to a third party. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we have to update our DRM. Of course, a disaster recovery plan and management plan. And actually, last couple of years after the incident, we also have some last year online lecture by Mick Newham about this disaster management plan as well. So that's the thing that I think it's a lesson learned for us. I mean, in the beginning, we might not aware that it's gonna happen to us, but then when we happen, it's like a wake-up call, as I say. So yeah, we were very conscious about it and aware of that important. And not only the fire, even the pandemic nowadays, or the flood, like almost 10 years ago that the film archive experienced. So there are this kind of disaster that we deal with, and we update on our management plan, all of them. Yes. The second question is, okay. Yes, we update in our catalog that the film was survived from fire. Of course, we have to update it because for some films, some condition is not the same. As I show you in the presentation, you know, it's shrunk or something. So we need to I say that this is from the fire, and but yeah, for the second question about the donor, yes, actually after the fire, there are many donors call us, and you know, all of our collection actually from donors. So every donor, they also worried about their collection. So what happened is this, because as I said in the presentation, if we are quite lucky, most of the film in the room, they are all being digitized or have the duplication already. So the that most of them we still have some digital copy, but we have to say sorry for them, of course, if the film got fire for sure. But fortunately, then not many like one single complaint like for like, oh, why we lost, because it's all accident, and we try our very hard to minimize the damage already. So that the thing that we try to explain to the donors, and they are quite okay with what we are handling, and we also show them that this is a digital file that we can show them, and that's after the incident.
Sanchai, could you elaborate just one aspect, because this might have to do with not only preservation but also cataloging. Did the damage from fire impact picture and sound in a different way?
Yes.
And how do you not only care for it, but how do you describe it in your catalog?
Okay, weใน catalog let me ask my colleague and then we can ใน catalog เราเขียนว่ามันถูกไฟแล้วอะไรอย่างเงี้ยใช่ไหมแล้วเรา explain มันยังไงอ่ะเราเขียนว่ายังไงใน catalog ว่ามันถูกไฟไหม้อ่ะ yeah okay okay, we update the cataloging and we said like, which part of it was fire and which part that still survive, which part that we put some stock back, and so that's kind of description about their condition. So that our cataloging, not cataloging, about the description of item. For the cataloging, is another section that because we don't. We still keep it as the now, as I told you, we still keep it, but we wait for the future technology. Maybe we can put the film back to the original. So, but now we still keep it like this, and we describe that, okay, this is the film survival from fire. So we know that with number of the film that got survived from fire, and that's I told you, we describe the item and how the description, how the item was changed because of fire, and that in all of the catalog and description of the item.
Mm-hmm. And do you have to move them to a different storage once that caught fire?
Yes, we actually we even had a chance to move to the building now, so nobody got in the cargo anymore. Lisa, you might miss it, but so we now we move to our Parliament building and office. So, and the film also is our lesson learned for my staff as well, that now we will not keep the film in the office. We will try to, after we finish the inspection, we try to get it back to the film world as soon as possible. So this is one thing that we have to keep in mind, and our staff, now realize it's very important to keep that protocol.
Yeah, or it's pretty important to have a fire-safe cabinet in case you're working away from the main storage.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm really sorry that time is so short. But I thank you all very much. Anne and Sanchai, Eleonore has left us, for sharing your work with us, because it is from these experiences, right, that we get to learn not really what in theory we do with our work, but how it's really applied. So yes, let me say thank you again, not only on behalf of myself, but also for everybody who's present from Hanoi, from Zoom and Facebook. Thank you, Anne and Sanchai.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, Anne. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see your project finished.
Thank you. Have a nice conference.
Yeah.
Thank you, and we'll see you at the next sessions of the conference.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to try to join some of the sessions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.